wanting to solve problems, you often have solutions looking for problems.
I don't believe that all problems can be solved with AI.
Deep interest in truly reviving the idea of Bangalore.
There's no city that does not have a problem. As long as a lot of people gather together in an urban area, there are lots of problems.
How difficult it is to keep your problem first approach in this environment is what I'm curious.
The students, when they start solving a problem, they actually even don't know what is the problem. That is the problem.
I'm Ravi, and I'm very glad to have Professor Pao here. Professor Pao is like a very well-known and renowned researcher from the National Cheng Chung University in Taiwan, where he also leads the research center on AI and sustainability. He has a huge litany of achievements in research, but when I went over them, I thought I would come up with a paragraph to introduce the essence of what he does, and I want to read it out, Professor Pao, with your permission. So Professor Pao's career traces the lived history of contemporary computing, beginning with foundational work in embedded and real-time systems, moving through reconfigurable architectures and hardware, software co-design, and now leading major initiatives in AI, sustainability, smart systems, and federated learning. His work reflects not a single specialization, but a way of thinking across systems. From autonomous intersections and smart grids to landslide prediction and privacy preserving AI, his projects reveal how technology evolves not in isolation, but through layered complexity, constraints, collaboration, and real-world responsibility. And in this conversation, we want to explore some of these kinds of themes, and we are very glad and privileged to have you amongst us, Professor Pao. Welcome to Alliance University.
Thank you for inviting me. I would be very happy to explore the different ideas.
Thanks. So Professor Pao, the first thing that really struck me when I was looking at all the research that you have done is that you worked across multiple technological eras, right? And for me, that's quite fascinating, because it's not just about working across multiple eras, but picking up new areas of research as they come, right, is what I see in your trajectory. And for me, that I find quite fascinating, because, you know, as somebody who is teaching young students and who is also teaching in this very hyped up internet era, right, we see a lot of hype around the new paradigms that emerge. Right now, for example, there's a lot of hype about LLM, right? And I remember when I was younger, there was a lot of hype around big data, right? You, for one, have seen one paradigm come after, you know, sort of take over one after another. And for me, I am very curious about how, as a researcher, you have looked past that hype and sort of figured out what your work should look like, right? Because, you know, at one level, there is this urge we have about always catching up with a new technological wave, but there is also a sense in which people are talking very superficially about technological paradigms without knowing much about them. And sometimes they can be fairly influential, like they can be, you know, policy makers and politicians who may not be so well versed about technology, but probably they impact technological policy. So, I mean, sorry for that mouthful, but I mean, I'm just curious how you navigated this evolution of paradigms in your research.
I think this is a very interesting question, especially when the technology is growing at such a rapid rate. As far as my research journey has been concerned, I'm more interested in solving real-world problems. And real-world problems keep on changing too. So like in the olden days, we had problems in agriculture and in industrial revolution and all. And then later on, now we are in the era of AI. And so problems keep on changing. Of course, then we have to adapt our mindset and how we can tackle the problems. just like the research that we just conducted with the professors from social science, College of Social Science. We were trying to make sure that the human labor rights of fishermen are protected, and they are not forced to work for long hours. So we have applied the latest CCTV technology using AI, so that we could protect the labor rights of the fishermen. That was not very possible in the past, but given the technology today, we are able to solve the problems maybe of the current or even of the past. Yeah. So my whole journey in research has been in how to solve the current problems or the problems of the past using the latest technology. And because the latest technology are the most powerful as compared to the previous ones, so I've been able to solve problems that were not so easily solvable before. Yeah. So that is my whole goal of doing research.
That's such a fascinating insight, Professor Pao, because just to highlight what you've said just now, because in technology circles there is this idea of technological solutionism, which is, rather than thinking about wanting to solve problems, you often have solutions looking for problems, which is, like the fact that, let's say, you believe that AI will solve everything, and you believe that AI is the solution already, right? And you want everything else to fit into that new paradigm of AI, right? Because you believe that somehow it is the magic solution, right? For me, this is a very big lesson because, shall I say, Professor Pao, and I would like to know your thoughts on this, especially when at least countries like India, which are not leading the AI race, so to speak, right? They are at the receiving end of AI technologies and they're catching up in a way. In a sense, they have a solution first approach rather than the problem first approach that you speak about, right? So, has that is that a factor, like, that is ways in the way research is conducted? The idea that there is a technology which is, let us say, invented in another part of the world, and you being in Taiwan have a certain pressure to catch up with that technology because that's what the global paradigm has become. But how difficult it is to keep your problem first approach in this environment is what I'm curious.
Of course, we are facing problems each and every day of our life. Identifying problems has been our main goal, and using the latest technology to solve the problems that we already have. I think that is something we humans should be striving towards. So that's why even with my students or the presentations that we just had, I keep on asking the students, how do you define the problem? Because most of the students, when they start solving a problem, they actually even don't know what is the problem. That is the problem.
Yeah.
So, like yesterday, there was a presentation on detecting thin cracks on the roads.
Sure.
So I asked the student, how thin? Yeah, how do you define how thin it is? It could be as thin as in materials which are not visible to the eye, or it could be something on the road. Yeah. So without a proper definition of the problem, and we start solving it, then the solution does not exactly fit the problem or actually solves the problem because you don't know the problem. So we always start with what exactly are we trying to solve? What is the scope of the problem? Yeah. Once we have a accurate definition or a precise definition of the problem, then we go and look out for answers. And actually, there are several solutions. Not only AI. I don't believe that all problems can be solved with AI.
Yeah.
Some problems can be solved with basic understanding of the problem. And like what my professor used to tell me, once you understand your problem, actually you already have the answer in your mind because you understand the problem so thoroughly that you already know what might be a possible solution. Often we don't know the solution is because we don't know what is the problem. So that's the interrelationship between the problem and the solution.
Thanks a lot, Professor Pao. There's one more thing that I wanted to double click on, which is the example you mentioned about using some kind of a monitoring technology to ensure that labor rights of fishermen are well taken care of. And I find that a very fascinating example because, you know, there is a certain consciousness about society, about the way of the world that you would like it to be, right? Because I'm thinking about how to be even sensitive to such issues in society. And may I say that these things depend not just on your personal worldview, but also on the society and the country you are embedded in, which is, you know, because when we talk of monitoring mechanisms, they are mostly used for surveillance, which are mostly used for control and oppression, you know. So, whereas here you're talking about the possibility of using surveillance for taking care of rights. So, so in that sense, how important it is for an engineer to have some kind of socio-political awareness, not in a way that interrupts your work or takes over the discourse or, you know, distracts you, but how important is that?
I think that is very, very important, especially in the age of AI, because AI can do a lot of things that we couldn't imagine. 10 years back. So with AI, like the European Union, the states, or even Taiwan and India, we are all discussing about how when the AI applications are being deployed, how the trust, how can the AI application be trusted? What is the trustworthiness of the AI? So as far as EU is concerned, they have 7 different requirements like privacy, security, autonomy, transparency, explainability. There are different requirements. So as an engineer, I think he or she should be very clear and very in his mind he should be very clear on how he can make sure that the AI application satisfies all the requirements. And that is what we have been doing in our project. We have professors from political science, from law. I think out of 8 professors, we have 3 professors from these colleges. They are trying to enforce that the AI applications meet these requirements. So whenever we engineer, the professors from the engineering college, we develop any AI system, they start questioning us. And then through the engagements and the communications, we try to understand what are the requirements from the eyes of the social science professors or the citizens, because I think they are representing the citizens who will be using the AI. So with this communication, I think we are getting a very good grasp of what exactly should be deployed, not only the accuracy of the system, but the other factors.
Professor, in fact, it's very nice that you use the word system, right? And because I'm a person who's interested in the philosophy of technology, I'm very curious about, what you make of this word called system. What is systems thinking? Because, one more thing which I notice is that, in all, and this is all humility of the limits of my knowledge, which is the way your research covers different dimensions of the computing architecture in the system, right? It could be the hardware, it could be the software, it could be how they come together, and I personally feel that if this is an indication of what is systems thinking, at least in many places in our country, we are lacking behind in really grounding students in systems thinking, right? And so because people are getting very over specialized in learning one computer language or learning theoretical computer science and learning how algorithms can be made faster. So if you could tell us, number one, what is systems thinking to you in the way you pursued research, and how can that be brought more into engineering pedagogy more strongly?
I think this is a very good and very urgent need, because of the classification of the different skills. The skills has been so segregated into different specializations that even for the industry, to find an engineer who can understand the whole system, it has become very difficult. As far as my own concept is concerned, by a system, I mean it can solve some problem which we humans are facing, because all systems are trying to solve some problems we humans are facing.
Yeah.
So that system can solve the problem, but of course maybe with the help of other systems. But that whole system is solving some problem. And like for example, we developed several systems for the local governments. So we have a system for monitoring the traffic, the cars or the vehicles which are violating the traffic laws. So that system is specifically for doing that. And then we also have one system for monitoring the air pollution, and then one system for monitoring the water pollution. But then there comes a question as to then will we have a lot of different kinds of systems which are all isolated? They are in different silos. And then in that case, how can you make sure that the different systems that are performing their own duties or responsibilities or trying to solve their own problems, how can they come together to solve to have a overall sustainable and good well-being of the city? How to ensure that this is everything is working in a convergent manner and not in a divergent manner. That is another issue. So that's why we created a platform where we are integrating all the AI systems. And this is also, we discussed with a local government in Taiwan. It's called Taichung city government. They have around 50 AI systems, and they're all segregated. So like they have a system for IoT for air pollution, and then they have a system for something else. But these systems are not communicating with each other. And then when there is a disaster or there's some kind of problems which is over the whole city, then there becomes a problem because the systems are not communicating with each other. So that's why we created a platform where the system can communicate with each other, and then we can have a overall decision making. Yeah. So like if the city, the mayor of the city, or anyone who is responsible for the overall city, that person can then
have access to that.
Access to that.
Yeah. That's for me a very, very fascinating idea, Professor Pao, because even in India there is a huge conversation around smart cities. It's a policy mandate, which has the political support of the current central government. And indeed, our cities are under a lot of stress, right? Of many kinds, as you say, traffic system, the air pollution and everything, water systems. And I think that the onus is also on local governments and state governments to come together with universities to solve these problems. And I completely agree with you. But there's one theme within this which I wanted to again bring out, which is, when you talk about the idea of systems being distributed and segregated from each other, it's very interesting that I was looking at what you call as federated learning, right?
Yeah.
And how that's a very, very different approach to AI compared to, let's say, the centralization that we see in LLMs, right? Where there is centralization of data, right? And from what I understand, federated learning involves literally that, a federation, a distribution, of. So what we are talking about is, if you could tell me about this theme in your research, where at one end you are solving very specific problems, which are in that sense about decentralization, right? Which are about, let's say, as you say, solving specific problems which are distributed. But on the other end, it's also about, now I am assuming, about making the systems communicate with each other. What I find most fascinating is that this approach is very antithetical to the centralization of the latest paradigm, that is, the craze of the technological community, which is the LLM. So how do you make sense of this continuous sort of play between centralization and decentralization?
This is a very good question, because as technology progresses, we started with like servers, IBM servers and
Yeah.
big servers.
Yeah.
Everything was centralized.
Yeah.
And then we had PCs.
Yeah.
We had personal computers. Everything was distributed.
Yeah.
And now we are again centralizing through cloud servers and all.
Yeah.
So that will happen. That will keep on happening. But as far as a city is concerned, because cities are geographically, spread over a large area. So having everything centralized, like for example, if you want the traffic data to be sent all to the cloud, that's not very possible because of the communication bandwidth. Yeah, like even in a small city where I come from, the CCTV cameras, they send their data, the video data through 4G, and they only can send like around in 1 second. They only can send 10 frames instead of the 30 frames that were originally in the video. So that's the communication bandwidth restriction. So if all the CCTV cameras keep on sending data to the centralized server, I don't think there will be any centralized server that can cope up with this much of data. Yeah, it is very, very difficult. So federated learning was proposed by Google. Learning is being done at the edge. At the edge. Yeah. So this is the common. This is the common method currently employed for traffic monitoring. Yeah. Even in Vietnam, in Taiwan, there are lots of federated learning cameras. The cameras are all distributed, and the learning is done at the edge. And then only the parameters. Some parameters are sent to the cloud, and then the goal is. The final decision is made at the cloud, but the learning is done at the edge. Yeah, so that's called federated learning. As far as your question is concerned, how can we integrate these two? I don't think there's any controversy or contradiction between these two. The reason is, let me give you an example like carbon emission. So if we are talking about the carbon emission of a city, that's not only some particular aspect of the city, it's the whole city, including the electricity consumption, the traffic, the amount of gas that we are using, that are being used by the traffic, and the other industrial processes. So once we have the data that is coming from different sectors of the city, the accurate estimate of the data should be done at the edge, within the industrial processes, within the traffic, within the electricity, because there are different organizations of the government all handling these. So we can have the accurate data at the edge, and that we can combine everything at the central government or at the state government, where they can get an estimate of the whole city. Yeah. So the responsibility of how to do the estimation can be divided by the different factors that lead to the carbon emission, and by the central authorities.
Professor Pao, like when you do all this work with the city, right?
Yeah.
I want to understand, how do you manage to communicate technology to policymakers? What are the challenges there? What are the skills required for telling policymakers that, look, technology is essential to solve problems, but again, the onus of we should also be given the freedom to propose the solutions, right? So, I'm just being very curious about how those negotiations and conversations have been, because you have been part of solving real world problems. So, right. So, those solutions that you propose are actually, in place right now. So, if you could tell us a little more about how that process works.
Yeah, there's always a communication gap between different fields. The officers in the government, they are always more reserved as to accepting new technology, because they are concerned with whether the systems that are already deployed, they are stable or not, because they don't want any instability. And when new technology comes in, it will try to create some kind of stability, at least instability, at least in the initial stages. Yeah. So what we do is, we not only show them what is the benefits of the technology, we also let them know how this technology can help them. Like, for example, reduce manpower. Like in the Environment Protection Bureau, they have a lot of people going to a lot of different places, collecting water samples, doing some kind of monitoring everywhere. But if we have the AI and the CCTV cameras or drones or whatever, that will help reduce their manpower. So we let them know what are the benefits of this technology for them at this current stage. And of course, we also have to let them know, be aware of what are the risks that will be involved, and how low is the risk. We won't be telling them how high the risk is. We'll be telling them how low the risk is. And once they understand the risk and the benefits, they will make the decision. Yeah, like in Taiwan, currently in Taiwan, they are more concerned with security. They want to make sure that whatever AI applications that you're deploying, it's secure. That is the major first concern. The second concern is, will they create any what we call as false positives? False positives means people are not doing violations, but they are being fined. Yeah, so these kind of problems they are more concerned with.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is quite fascinating, and I would like to. I have tons of questions, as you can see, like they're coming.
Sure.
But you know, I'm because you know you're here in India, and I thought I would like to end this conversation if asking you to reflect on the meaning of international collaborations, conversations, and you know what exactly is the value of it, and you know how much of it, how long it takes to make such collaborations fruitful, right? So you know, if you could give us a perspective on that, because I'm assuming that Taiwan is fairly very international in its research culture, right? So you have benefited a lot from having an internationalism, right, within that culture. So if you could tell us.
Yeah, sure. Internationalization is always beneficial. Otherwise, it would not have been in SDG 17. SDG 17 is talking about internationalization. For internationalization to actually culminate in fruitful results, and not only MOUs and some signing agreements, I think is the mutual trust. We have a lot of collaborations with the institutes and the universities in India. We spend a lot of efforts in discussing in face-to-face meetings and all. I think that is something which builds the trust. And once you have the trust, anything could be the main goal of for internationalization or for collaboration. Yeah. So when I started with internationalization, I mean with communicating with the institutes and the universities in India, I always made it a point that after a few meetings we are friends. And then with becoming friends, the trust is there, and they know that okay, we are helping each other. Yeah. And with internationalization, I think helping each other is the final goal. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a wonderful note. In fact, my parting thoughts would be that you know, now that you're here and you have a connection to Bangalore, right, through Alliance University, we would really, I think this is an area that is so fertile, especially in the context of the problems Bangalore as a city is facing. And I think myself and the university takes a deep interest in truly reviving the idea of Bangalore, right? It's one of the most amazing cities, to be honest, one of the most diverse cosmopolitan cities with the great climate and greenery and everything. So that there's this, there is a dream of Bangalore that we must not stop pursuing, right? I think that the kind of research that probably we can do together can eventually, I hope, help the city of Bangalore, is what my
Sure. I think though this is the first time I'm in Bangalore, but I really love the city. Though it has its own problems, there's no city that does not have a problem. As long as a lot of people gather together in an urban area, there are lots of problems. So with technology, I think Bangalore will keep on progressing and will have a very good future. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Professor Pao. I had so many other things to ask you. You know, so much to dig deep about the history of technology that you are familiar with. But we'll probably continue that for another time. Thank you very much for your time.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much.